now. On Tuesday morning, CIA Director John Ratcliffe declassified a heavily redacted report. It's a report that stems from an incident or a moment in 2015, and it was a report that was drafted in 2016. And it refers to Ukrainian officials who were commenting on then Vice President Joe Biden's visit to Ukraine. And this is what the document says, and I'm going to be reading several points in this report. Quote, as of mid-December 2015, officials within the administration of Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko expressed bewilderment and disappointment at the 7 to 8 December 2015 visit of the Vice President of the United States to Kyiv, Ukraine. And then it goes on to say, after the visit, these officials assessed that the U.S. vice president had come to Kyiv almost exclusively to give a generic public speech and had not any intention of discussing substantive matters with Poroshenko or other officials with the Ukrainian government. Following the visit of the U.S. vice president, officials within Poroshenko's administration privately mused at the U.S. media scrutiny of the alleged ties of the U.S. vice president's family to corrupt business practices in Ukraine. These officials viewed the alleged ties of the U.S. vice president's family to corruption in Ukraine as evidence of a double standard within the United States government towards matters of corruption and political power. Now, this was once a top secret document. And it says that due to its quote unquote extreme sensitivity, that it would only be disseminated to the named recipient, which of course would be Biden himself. And here's the other part that people are talking about when it comes to this document. It also includes an email that an intelligence briefer wrote in February 2016. And it says, quote, good morning. I just spoke with the VP/NSA, Vice President/National Security Advisor, and he would strongly prefer the report not be disseminated. Thanks for understanding. So that's what the document says in the midst of all of these big black boxes that show heavy redactions of sources, methods, code names, etc. So what is being said among former senior intel officials who have the ability to speak on this? One former senior official told me, quote, I'm not surprised it wasn't disseminated in 2016. None of it is that new/insightful from what was publicly available then. What's interesting is why he, Ratcliffe, chose to release it now. That will spark some debate. Another former senior intelligence official told me, quote, I inherently distrust anything that the current DCIA releases. He's obviously ignoring the biblical verse in the CIA's entry hall, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Second, vast portions of this release continue to be blacked out, so you have no way of putting any of it in proper context. On the surface, it appears to be a hatchet job on then Vice President Biden. We must also recall that President Trump subsequently tried to extort Ukrainian President Zelensky by threatening to withhold previously approved arms shipments unless the Ukrainians dig up dirt on Hunter Biden. This was naked political extortion unmatched in modern times. Those are two of the views. There are others who see this as shedding sunlight on a shady issue, that this does bring up some double standards. And also, why aren't we focusing more on the fact that there was disappointment among these Ukrainian officials, and why was that kept quiet? What we don't know. We don't know what was in the redactions. We don't know who these Ukrainian officials were and what their beliefs were. If we're talking about 2015, we could also be talking about pro-Russian Ukrainians. That was certainly an issue and, still something that we have to consider nowadays, but certainly back in 2015. And also, there is a history of American officials completely undermining or minimizing the concerns and the needs of Ukrainian officials in the years leading up to this. So it isn't unique in that respect. Also, of course, the United States was able to pick up this communication. Uh, this is not the first time that the U.S. intelligence community will have picked up on foreign officials shit-talking U.S. officials. You can bet that it is not the first time that this has happened. It's extremely sensitive, though, because it's about the vice president, right? The other piece to consider is what the CIA Director Ratcliffe has declassified to date. When he was the director of national intelligence, he declassified unverified Russian intelligence to do with the 2016 election. And then in July, he declassified what is called an internal tradecraft review on the 2016 intelligence community assessment regarding the 2016 election, trying to cast some doubt as to how that was conducted and if it was done fairly. So a lot of this stems back to 2016. It stems back to Russia. It stems back to Ukraine. And my takeaway is that people are going to see what they want to see in this document because despite the fact that it's a short document with very little to say, you can pull out pieces as you want. You can say that the dissemination of this is what is political, or you can say that how the intelligence was handled because it was not disseminated past the president, that was political. All right. That's where I leave you. Thank you for watching. If you support my work, please become a paid subscriber. It really helps me out. And have a great day.